Phase 2 is what you care about the most in this area. Okay, what we're building, and the we in this is the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority. We're the same people who own and manage Dulles and National Airports. We took over this project from the Commonwealth of Virginia about 4 years ago when the state decided, well, they just really didn't want to manage it any longer, but they wanted one of our partners to, and the Airports Authority was that partner that took on the task. At the same time, the Airports Authority took over the toll road, and we're the people who raise your tolls on the toll road, not on the greenway. We don't have anything to do with the greenway, but we're guilty of the other. What we're building is a 23-mile extension of Metro's existing system. We break off the orange line, and I'll show you some close-up maps of that in a few minutes. Where we break off, though, from the orange line is probably familiar to all of you. Think closer to town, where I-66 and the Dulles Connector Road split, coming out for the city. Where 66 breaks off and heads toward Vienna, and the Dulles Connector Road breaks out and heads out to Reston and Loudoun County. We follow that break off toward this area along the Dulles Toll Road, the Dulles Airport Access Highway. This map shows you. I love this map because it does just a little bit, shows you. If you look at that blue line, that's the river, and it shows how little until now of Metro that this part of the Washington region actually has Metro service. Virginia has a very small piece of the pie, even though Loudoun County, Arlington, and Alexandria have been paying into the system for a long, long time. Fairfax hasn't had much of a share. Arlington hasn't had any. About 4 years ago also, the U.S. Department of Transportation decided that the project was too big for them to consider as one entity. They broke it into 2 phases, but that had some good impacts and some bad impacts. The good impacts were that we were able to get federal funding for phase 2 and get it fast in federal terms. It took a long time. But its bad impact is that at this point, and it doesn't look like there's going to be very much except some maybe low interest loans of federal dollars into building phase 2. So that's created some problems for all of us. Phase 1 of the project runs from the East Falls Church Metro Station, not the West Falls Church Metro Station, to Wheatley Avenue in Reston, with 4 stops in Tyson's Corner. I know everybody says, wow, Lord, Tyson's Corner. There are reasons for that. Mainly ridership. That's where people tend to go in and they tend to come from. Phase 2 runs from Wheatley Avenue on the eastern edge of Reston, through Reston Parkway, Herndon, Monroe, out to the Route 28 corridor where the upside-down pyramid building is, the Center for Innovative Technology, to Route 606 behind the airport, and then out to Ashburn at Bryan Road, the Home Depot. The Home Depot is the best landmark I have for everybody knowing exactly a place to think when you look at that. This map shows you the long distance of that. All told, it's a 23-mile extension. When you get on a train in Ashburn or Tysons or Reston, you'll be able to go all the way downtown without transferring. When you can get off, I got phone calls this morning from 3 different people saying, hey, is this one-seat ride thing mean I can't get off anywhere? No, you can get off anywhere you want to. In Reston, in Tysons, in Arlington, at the Smithsonian, all the way to Stadium Armory. And if you have Redskins tickets, probably Metro will extend those trains on out to see the guys play. Hope they're doing a little bit better by the time that happens. Yeah. But it does mean that once you get on in the western stations and you've got your seat, you've got your seat. You don't have to transfer anywhere. And I know there's criticism that it's not very much faster than you can drive it, but you'll have to make those determinations yourself. It'll be about 50 minutes from Dulles Airport to Capitol Hill. Guess why we're 50? That exactly. 50. What we've done in Tyson's Corner and all along phase 1 is back in March of 2009, just about 3 years ago, we received $900 million in federal transit funds to pay for a portion of phase 1. Phase 1 is a $2.6 billion project, but that's the federal share. By that point, though, our preliminary engineering and early design was ready, and we rode around and started building 2 days after we got the money. We were what you call, we were shovel ready at that point. We couldn't wait to start building. There's been too many ups and downs over the years, and I could talk for 3 hours on all the troubles over the years to get this project started. At this point, we're 99% complete with the design of phase 1. We've moved 21 different utilities out of the way all along the corridor in Tyson's. We moved them underground and built capacity and duct banks to accommodate that region for 15 more years. You won't have to dig up a road or dig up anything, put in more capacity for additional utilities in that area. We're now 67% complete. We will complete phase 1 next summer, July, maybe August, depending on the weather. If we have a winter like we had last year, this year it'll be great, and we're probably going to kill us with heat this year, the rate we're going. Well, we will, Metro, who will take over and operate this when we finish, has told us they will be ready to open for service in December of 2013. You may have read some press that our rail cars won't be here. They won't be. We've ordered 80 new rail cars. The rail cars have been delayed by something nobody could control. The contractors in Kawasaki, and the tsunami and the earthquake destroyed one of the main plants in Japan that's building them. They're now being built partially in Japan, partially in Nebraska, and may be brought together back in Japan before they're shipped here. So they're running about 6 to 8 months late. Metro had ordered 200 new cars at the same time. Theirs are in the same boat. But Metro is now already working to refurbish every car they've got, so we'll have enough cars to opt to go ahead and open on time and begin revenue services. Been to Tyson's lately? Oh my God. It's a different view of Tyson's than you've seen. I didn't bring everything because I know we want to focus on Tyson's on the second phase. But you know where the Dulles Connector Road comes into Tyson's Corner right on 123 and you swing over? Well, here I'm walking you across that swing over that takes you down to the northwest side of Route 123. This is 123, north and south. This is the Capital One headquarters building. We had some folks go down and walk on top of this last week, some politicians and some other folks who wanted to see what we were doing. And last night we were at a public information meeting on phase 2, and I had one Fairfax supervisor say, I want to go see the Wheelie Station, Marcia. I hear you took a group in there. And I said, yeah. He said, but I don't want to go up on that thing over on 123. I don't like height. So, but this will be what people coming into Tyson's from downtown and from Arlington see as they come in. And we really like this photo. I think it tells you what you can see here is after all the aerial guideways have been built, we're actually putting traffic. Let's go on to the next photo. This is inside one of 2 tunnels in Tyson's Corner. Some of you will remember that there was a group in Tyson's 4 years ago that wanted us to completely underground the 4-mile stretch there. Well, Governor Kane decided that's not the right way to go, and the Airports Authority agreed. Yeah, it would have been fun to be all underground, but it was costly, far too risky. But we did proceed with what about 2 2,400-feet tunnels. These go under Route 7 and 123 come together near Clyde's restaurant, SAIC, Marshall's, Wendy's. I try to throw out some local that you can understand. These tunnels have been completed, both inbound and outbound. They were completed about 3 months ahead of schedule, on time, on budget, without any significant incidents. We were amazed. The tunneling crew came in from all over the world. We had some great guys from Norway, Sweden, who entertained us a lot with their stories of building tunnels in places like the Alps, which this was sort of a little anthill for them to be working under. But this was shot about a week and a half ago, when we're starting to actually put the track in those, and we have stopped taking public tours and the electrical work. This is up on Route 7. This is where if you're stuck in traffic, you really can't look over, but you've seen some fairly things to distract you over the last 3.5 years. Now you can see what the aerial guideway looks like. This is shot from basically the SAIC area looking west toward the Sheraton Hotel. I keep using the word SAIC. I think you all know that they're a major defense and environmental contractor who have announced about a year ago that they're moving their West Coast operations from California to Northern Virginia, and they're going to be located immediately adjacent to a station in this area. We have 4 stations in Tysons, and they have paid for direct access into the pedestrian bridges to them. What you will have noticed about all these slides about Tysons, and it also is relevant to all the stations we're building, because everywhere we're building, we're either in the middle of or on the side of the busiest roads in the state, whether it's the Greenway, the Toll Road, Route 7 and 123. You're asking, how do I get there? There are pedestrian bridge access points at each station in Tysons. On Route 7, for example, there's a station, the one at SAIC. There's another one down in the corner of Spring Hill Road and Route 7. That's where the Honda dealership is, the old Lincoln Mercury dealership, which is gone away. And the most popular thing there's the Exxon gas station, which has been there for something like 70 years and it's continuing to survive. But you will have elevators and escalators and stair access in each one of those pedestrian points. That will be the same thing along the Dulles Greenway for the Ashburn station, for the 606 station, for the station at Route 28. This is our Wheeling Avenue station out in Reston. It's about 70% complete. And if you drive by now, here's what you see. This is the interior canopies. This is what it will all look like when it's finished. And we did this because this is the prototype for what the Ashburn station and the 606 station will be. We just modify the topography for it to fit, but the station designs are basically the same. And in each of those, there's access points for pedestrians on both sides of the big roads, and they all have bathrooms, which is a new thing for the Metro. I know you can thank Fairfax County for this, because Fairfax County considers rail station now to be a convention center in their zoning code. So we had to add them, and once we put them in, we weren't going to take them out for the stations. We're really excited about this station because it really is sort of an announcement to the world that yes, we're not just building in Tysons. We've taken some criticism for building 4 stations in Tysons. Today, there are 150,000 people driving into Tysons Corner every day to work. That's 300,000 automobile trips. A lot of you are caught in those. And the future of Tysons is going to bring more housing here. We don't have any place for you to park your car now if you start at any of these stations. We want you to catch them further out. There will be parking at the others. I think we're now going to start to talk about phase 2. Phase 2, I put this green egg on that big map to show you where phase 2 actually comes from. It runs from Western Parkway to Herndon Monroe. If you're coming from Loudon, now take buses into the Herndon Monroe Park and Ride facility, and then take express buses to stations. Well, that's where the new rail station will be. The next stop is at Route 28. It sort of straddles the Loudon and Fairfax line. Part of the latest compromises on cost. Fairfax County has agreed to build that station. And on the cost of that station, to take it out of the cost of phase 2. And they're working with a private sector developer. In fact, I think there's 6 or 7 bidding for the rights to build next to it and provide parking garages as part of that project. We're doing that at Wheeling Avenue with Comstock LLC, which is also got Loudon Station out at 772. And they're providing the parking facility at Wheeling Avenue. That's been a great bonus for us to save phase 1 of the project on $70 million. We love to see the private sector come in and build them, take them off of our plate. But as I said, phase 2 we're sort of in the midst of some critical times on phase 2. But our proposal calls for that 11.6-mile extension from Wheeling to Ashburn. We have the 6 stations. One thing we're also building on the airport, on the Loudon side of the airport, is the largest rail yard facility in the metro system. It's even been reduced in size as part of the compromise. We were going to be able to accommodate I think it was 250 cars at one time if you needed to for maintenance, but not at, now we've reduced that down a bit. You who live and drive along Route 606 will not be able to see it. It is buried in the airport and surrounded. It's close to where we will build a fifth runway, but that's way down the road. That's way down the road given the state of aviation. Go on. There are key events tied to phase 2, and I have to read these because there's so many of them. I'll have to look at the cheat sheet. We completed preliminary engineering the last day of February. We got it on February 29th. The year was great fun this year. We spent several days reviewing it, going through the cost estimates that came with it, and we released the cost estimate for phase 2 March 2nd, and that cost figure currently is $2.7 billion. That is an estimate that represents our very best efforts to estimate based on an independent cost estimate plus an estimate for our phase 2 design build contract, phase 2 preliminary engineering contract. We have posted on the airport's website a notice telling people that we're going to issue a request for qualifications from potential bidders for phase 2. We're going to issue that request for qualifications late April, early May. It had been supposed to be released sooner, but I think when you hear what I'm going to say in a few minutes about the rest of the process, you'll understand how a little bit late getting that out. We do expect to issue what's called an RFP for the project in early summer. It's going to be just all jammed up in the next couple of weeks and months after things go on. After we release that cost number and the preliminary plans, Loudoun and Fairfax County have a 90-day time period in which to review the financing plan, the proposals, locations, everything that's in it. Not that they haven't both had been hands-on looking at the design, what the stations were, knowing what they needed to do in terms to improve access for everybody to those stations for years and years and years. But once they get it, 90 days, June 4th. So by June 4th, we expect both jurisdictions to vote. They will vote. And they have to say yes or no whether they want to proceed. Fairfax County this week has had 2 public information meetings. One meeting we tell people what it is and we sort of try to gauge what. We had 9 people at the first one. We had 35 last night, counting about 8 politicians. We have one tonight in the Tysons area, and we have one Monday night at the Fairfax County Government Center. That's where people come in to listen and see. Fairfax County holds a public hearing on it next Tuesday night, and they're scheduled to vote next Tuesday night or 2 weeks later. It is the intention of the Fairfax County Executive, County President at this point, to actually vote next week. So we expect to have a rapid decision from Fairfax County on whether they're going to stay in. And that includes their agreement to build the Route 28 station and to work for getting parking garages there. Loudoun is a little bit different story. Loudoun probably won't vote until the last week in June. Last week in May, or maybe June 3rd. They can hold a special meeting to do this. They will be holding, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself on this, but they will be holding public information. 2 of them coming up where you can go and hear detailed plans of what they will present, our plans and their proposals to you too. Then they will hold a public hearing. Those dates have not been set yet. I'll be happy to let someone here know when they are, or you can share the information if you're interested. Otherwise, just keep a tight watch on the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors website. Or call your local supervisor and ask them when those are if you choose to participate in those. Because there's something that the Airport Authority is more of an observer at. We have people at these meetings to answer your questions, but we won't have anybody answering your questions at the public hearings. Those are when the public is to come and tell their local supervisors what they want to do. Let's go back here. We have what's called an environmental process for the whole phase. Because we changed the location of and design of the station at Dulles Airport, which made a lot of headlines. I'm going to show you something about. We have to go back and You go through part of the federal processes again with the Federal Transit Administration and the U.S. Department of Transportation. We have an amendment to the record of decision on the environmental impact processes for this project. Very thick, tall documents. They were supposed to approve our release of those where we could schedule a public hearing in February. It now looks like we'll have our public hearing on that effort going on simultaneously with everything else sometime in May. It most likely will be held. Finding a place for a public hearing on the Loudon Fairfax line is the problem, so it looks like we probably will do it at the Marriott Hotel at Dulles Airport. They have ample parking. They're on the airport's property, and we can sort of say, yes, you want to do this. Do this for us. The final price proposals are due in December of this year. One of the reasons for that record of decision public hearing is because of the rail station changes at the airport, as I said. What we are planning to do at the airport, I'm going to show you some pictures in a few minutes, is we're going to build an above-ground station. We're not going to build an underground station. The savings on that were considerable. This is also a good point for me to tell you a little bit about how we're going to award this contract. We had some negative press about the Phase 1 contract because the Phase 1 contractor, the whole process was a little bit different. It was bid, but it was bid before preliminary engineering, and so the whole thing was scheduled and set before we got to the old-fashioned way of doing things, putting out a bid after PE was done. Bechtel Infrastructure and URS became Creative Dulles Transit Partners, and they had the contract to do all that. For Phase 2 of the contract, Dulles Rail Consultants, which is a consortium of ACOM and Parsons Brinkerhoff, got together and they won the contract to do preliminary engineering contracting for Phase 2, and that produced the documents that we just released. That joint venture is not eligible to bid on Phase 2. They knew that when they started. But Dulles Transit Partners, Bechtel is. They're one of about, I think it's about 10 folks that we're aware of. They haven't filed anything with us yet. But just about every major infrastructure company in the world, from all around the world, has expressed interest in building this project. There's a Chinese company that's expressed interest. There's a Japanese country. There's a Swedish company, Skanska. You just name it. Everybody wants this business because combined, they're the largest public infrastructure project underway in this country. Until we get started with Phase 2, we're really second only to New York Avenue. Okay, we've already gone over this, so we can go ahead and skip it. Now let's talk specifically about stations and what we've done. Usually we show you, and we've got some on the next page. It's really hard to understand engineering maps to show you where the stations are. You're going to see those on the next page, but with these, for everybody to get a better idea whether we took Google Earth maps, whether Emily and her team did, and I went out and found out what's nearby and did illustrative maps to show you where they're there. If you're familiar with Reston, there's Reston Town Center, there's the station. Station facilities mean parking and access points. So as the rail line is coming down the middle of the airport access highway from the first terminus at Lily Avenue, it will come to Reston Parkway. Didn't deviate and go into Reston Parkway, into Reston Town Center, because the owners and developers of Reston Town Center never wanted that to happen. They set it aside to happen. Today, they're working to redevelop a good chunk of this property, which they partially own, and the CIA is in, so they have to do some convincing to move that. Let's go on. This is what you would usually have seen, which you would have said, huh. And you will see that. That's what will be posted in the legal documents that the public hearings will be held on. But that's really much harder for you to get your bearings and know. But I'm not going to go through the details of what exactly is at the station because it's in Reston. You can find it on the material posted on the website. Let's go on and go out to Herndon. Today, if you're taking a bus in and getting off at the Herndon parking lot or driving in and taking the buses in, we're going to double the size of that parking garage. It's gonna be in a different location. We're currently working with the town of Herndon, which, Herndon's been working with us on this for a long, long time. But Herndon has realized where they really need better access is from the north side. See where it says Lerner Corporation? That's the Lerners who own the NACS. They own that piece of property. The town of Herndon is working closely with them to make that into plazas, great tall office building, et cetera, to go with it, but to provide better pedestrian access and access to downtown the town. But they've been very easy to work with, even though it was sort of late starting. They have been very easy to deal with. Again, I think I've gone over this. Let's just go on that. This is Route 28, which everybody in both counties seems to be really, really interested in. And that location up there where the Ward Station is about where the parking lots for the CIT buildings are. As you may know, there's a great scramble between major developers and landowners of what to do with all this treed areas on both sides and who's going to win the rights to develop. All that, fortunately for us, is in the hands of the Loudoun and Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. We'll just put the station there, build the station access points, and then the counties get to work with the builders and the developers who come into that area. But it gives you, this gives you a fairly good vision, because this is the Hyatt Dulles area. I think it's here instead of there.
Are these going to be available anywhere for us to see?
Pardon?
Close-ups, will we be able to see them anywhere?
Pardon?
The close-up pictures,
All of this will be on the,
including the close-up ones that have the names of the different businesses around it?
yes, all that will be in, because they're, thank God for Next, they're gonna make this available to you via your Facebook site, so you can have it, and you'll have the whole thing. When you see what's called the legal documents on our website, it'll only have this map. But we will have the link to the other maps. We just have to advertise it legally and show it specific ways to the FDA. And Metro, WMATA, has specific requirements that have been followed since Metro was originally built, so long ago at this point. Yeah, you'll be able to see all of that. Now let's go to the airport. And this had to be just a hand circle kind of drawn in here because there's not much to show you except the airport. The original plans for the Dulles Airport Station had an underground station at about this point. This is the parking bowl at Dulles today, had it about right here. There are pedestrian tunnels underneath now from the main terminal that allow you to walk to this garage and find your way over to this one. The one time I tried to do that, I ended up to get to this one, I got to that one. Yeah. But now I know how to do it. The new and approved design has the aerial station and the aerial line coming in almost on the face of this garage. And I think I have a drawing to show you. Once you come into the aerial station, you will take elevators and escalators down. You will go into a much improved tunnel that you now larger with movable sidewalks. And better than what's there now. I know our movable sidewalks don't win great awards at the airport. But let's go and take a look. This is the view of what that station, what you'll see from the airport. It's very similar to some of the stations at Tyson's and not that different from the view of the Greeley Avenue station. Here's what the station entrance and lobby will look like. And then this shows the cross section of where you get off the train and come directly down. These are, you're not standing out in the total wind. There are these walls that surround, and we have done all kinds of studies about the changing directions of the winds, where the protection walls can be angled in the proper ways to get you in and out. It's very, very similar to National Airport. If you've taken the subway to National or been into that station at all, it's very, very similar. Now, the station is sort of rediscovered in the middle of nowhere. So we had to pull this close up much further out to get it where it wasn't just airport property you were seeing, where you would know where this station is. You're coming along the Greenway at this point. is Old Ox Road. This is an existing park and ride facility in this area. These are all toll plazas in these areas. The property, that direction, above the blue and out in the, is privately owned. The bulk of this is owned by the. Then our long proposed terminus station, well, this is 602 still, 606 still. Let's go out to Route 717. When we first started this project and doing the very preliminary drawings, Loudon Parkway didn't simply around there. Lots of things didn't exist, so we decided we really had, and I don't think I have the right division of the landowners on the Northville Station site. It's been sold off in different parcels that don't show up currently on anybody's maps that we were able to get to. This is the future Loudon Station development that Comstock LLC, one of the Comstock divisions, is doing. I think the Home Depot is in that part of their overall plan. This is Old Ryan Road, the Ashburn Village, something underneath, and Shelburne Road in this area. But the access bridges from station facilities that will be in here, those are bus bays, parking facilities, et cetera, in those yellow blocks that will be provided by the rail project in cooperation with there is a great deal of discussion on this piece of property. I think the Loudon Station owners have asked Loudon County to sort of relocate their structures. At one point, what was immediately adjacent to the station was just regular parking like we have outside this building. They've modified that, want to put buildings and then put structures parking behind and below. Like in Wheelie Avenue, where the parking has been built by a developer, that parking's all on the ground. We can be pushing it on the ground. Much more expensive, but it sort of totally changes the development potential in the way it looks. If you buy a condo in one of the buildings nearby, you're not sure there's nearby parking. This is again saying what's going to be there. The pedestrian bridges will come in and link into both of those developments and into public areas, and to the bus bays and the parking for the bus bays. Cars drop off. There'll be plenty of places for you to drop someone off at the station, just like there is at Vienna Metro or any others. There'll be 3,000 parking spaces at this station. There are about 1,700 at the 606 station. Would not be surprised to see Loudon County find ways to even increase the number of parking spaces in the area. But I know we get calls about, we don't really want an increase in the parking spaces. And unfortunately, I refer people to their supervisors to how to do that, because that's all something out of our control. It's within the county. I think I have one last slide that lets me just talk about the benefits of transit. The authority and all of us are very, very limited about what we can say in terms of you want this, you should have this, and no, you can't have this, and this kind of thing. But we are able to tell you with the FTA's blessing, information that comes from respected transit research, some that they have done, some that Metro has done, some that the American Public Transit Association have done, and things that we have, based on those facts. It will and should help take cars off some of the most congested roads around. You may not choose to ride it or to use it, but you can hope that 2 or 3 people on your street will. And that's where your benefit comes. You may not use it except to go downtown on the weekend. Someone downtown may use it to come to Loudon. I had someone in my office the other day, and I thought, I want to do that before they steal their own idea. I want to steal their idea. They wanted to create a service that where you could come from the district, get off at 772, get on a little bus and go on vineyard trips to Loudon County. The other one was to take people to Leesburg outlets and leave them there for 4 hours. The rest of Limo does this for people in New York. We can do that. And I thought, oh, this person ought to go pick this thing going before somebody else steals their idea to do this. We do know where WMATA is functioning today. we're saving 40 million gallons of gasoline a year in the Washington region. So that's actually a huge impact on carbon effects. We have all that stuff. We'd be happy to give you that data. We just don't come out and show it a lot. We know that transit generates jobs and change. Look at Boston. I see some of you who are in this room are old enough like I am to know what Boston used to be and what Boston is today, and how much revenue Arlington County has enjoyed from that. And you know that most of the people who now live in those buildings, they have less than a car per unit. They just don't have it. We did destination studies with SAIC and Booz Allen and Tyson's and determined quickly, learned that 50% of the people, the folks in Loudon get blamed all the time for jamming up Tyson's. People from the east are just as bad. 50% of the folks that work in Tyson's live east. And those folks can't wait to leave their cars at home. And that goes for Reston, and that goes for people who are going to be working and work near the stations here in Rowan County. You'll do the same things. Your businesses will do the same things. If you're a little bit too far away, you'll have shuttles that will pick you up and take you back and forth. Some of the folks out in Fair Lakes, you know, all over Fair Lakes areas, they have an incredible bus system that runs through Fair Lakes for commuter times. Takes everybody in and out of Vienna Metro. All that sort of stuff starts to happen. This project has had at its peak employment time 1,800 people working on it. The bulk of that has been craftsmen, people actually building it. The Airport Authority only has 12 of us. There are 12 of us. We do have a management consulting team, standard DC thing, PMSS, Project Management Oversight Team. Ours is Jacobs Carter Burgess, and they come in and they do stuff for us, and there's about 400 of those. But the bulk of those other people all work for the contractors, and they're everybody from the minimal skilled worker to the highly skilled folks. I know you've watched the aerial construction get done. That was a team headed by an Italian company named Rizzani, and they are a walking specialist in doing what they do. And it's been amazing to watch what they do. These people have created jobs for people like McDonald's. We have where our workers are building this thing, the fast food restaurants now are open 24/7. They're kind of sad that work is going away. We haven't done